Hey everybody, it's Magic Prepper, and there's something I wanted to talk about that we see all over the preparedness community, and I think it's something that we need to try to get away from. Anytime I talk about anything electronic, whether or not it's electro-optics, whether or not it's comms like radios or even your cell phone, a solar backup system, it could be something as simple as a flashlight. People will say a couple of different things. The first thing that they'll say is it EMP proof, right? And I understand the question there and as to why, but then the next thing you'll hear from others that chime in is, it'll die in an EMP, so it's just not worth having. So don't worry about it, it's useless, right? And that's just not the case. This is not how things work. We should not limit ourselves in the sense of preparedness by not accepting the fact that electricity makes life a lot easier and gives us a lot of advantages when it comes to efficiency. Electronics are okay to be part of your preparedness kit. It's just how it works. We're in the year 2023. In fact, you should be planning on using electronics after an emergency. And not every emergency we prepare for is an EMP. Not to mention, yes, EMPs, is it possible? It is. Is it likely? Not so much. Are CMEs possible? Natural occurring events? Yes, they are. Are they likely to happen on a grand scale? Not super likely. Could they happen? Yes, but we also don't exactly know all of the effects of an EMP when it comes to small electronics. Is there a chance that your circuit breaker might blow in your home? Yeah. Will your vehicles possibly fry? Possibly. But when it comes to something like a red dot sight, or, well, this is a prism optic, but anything with a illumination setting, or when it comes to something as simple as a flashlight, will it actually be fried from an EMP? And we just don't know the answer to that. Now, I'm out here with this new space gun that I'm playing around with because aliens are kind of on the menu lately, so I figured I should probably have something reasonably equipped to deal with alien threats. And right here you see a lot of really cool stuff that we'll talk about here in the future. And of course, I've got some comms on that are just basic hearing protection muffs that actually have radio capability, and I'm testing that out as well. And I was out here testing out all these different electronics, and I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna go ahead and address this now and get ahead of it because it is an issue that we talk about a lot here in the community. Now, if you like stuff like electro-optics, weapon-mounted lights, or even space guns in general, make sure you check out Midway USA. They're the biggest supporter of the channel. I really appreciate their support and what they help me do in the sense of getting out here on the range, getting more prepared. And yeah, a lot of the stuff they offer is electronic. But you know what else is electronic? Night vision. And hardly anyone who says things like, well, don't get a red dot sight because it will go down in an EMP, but you should definitely get iron sights because they'll never break. And look, I don't hate iron sights, but I do understand the advantages that optics bring to the table over iron sights in many situations. I do like iron sights, don't get me wrong. I'm just saying that positive identification at distance, it's a good thing to have. Being able to see in low light conditions or put your reticle on target in a low light scenario without having to struggle, not the worst capability to have. And iron sights don't work really at all when it comes to night vision. And night vision is something that nobody's gonna say is a bad thing to have or a bad idea. Is it really expensive? Yes, it is. But is it something that might go down in EMP? Possibly. But would you say not to get it just because of that one situation? Of course not. And of course, I do work with Nightline Inc. If you guys want to check them out, if you mention Magic Prepper, if you're placing an order over there, they'll get you 15% off. Super cool guys over there, American patriots that support what prepared citizens are doing. So make sure you check out Nightline Inc. Very cool company, but here's the thing. Don't limit yourself based off of one particular scenario. You just shouldn't. People will say, oh, don't move to Yellowstone because of the supervolcano. Yeah, I mean, is it a possibility that it might wipe you out one day in a giant burst of magma? Yeah, that could definitely happen. But moving to Florida has the same effect when it comes to massive hurricanes. You could have your house wiped away in a hurricane. I live in North Dakota, Minuteman missile silo territory. Is it possible that I'll get nuked off the face of the earth one day? Yeah. Everywhere you go has compromises, and everything we prepare for has different scenarios that could unfold, especially related to things like EMP. And here's the biggest thing. Look, I'm not gonna let an EMP stop me from installing an entire home backup power system using solar capability. It's just not gonna stop me from doing it. Are there things out there that could protect some of your stuff from EMP? Yeah, there are. I can't vet all of them, but I do know things like Faraday bags and Faraday cages do work, and you can easily DIY some of that stuff relatively affordably. Look into all that if you're concerned about it. Those are good things to have. I have Faraday protection as well. But that doesn't mean that I'm afraid to run a red dot sight, or I'm afraid to carry a flashlight, or I'm afraid to have a walkie-talkie just because an EMP might happen. And that's definitely what you should be considering too. These things, enhance our ability to survive. And if you don't prep things like a walkie-talkie because an EMP might happen, and then you find yourself dealing with like a wildfire and you're trapped and the only way you could have communicated with anybody was through a walkie-talkie and you didn't have one because, I don't know, you decided an EMP was more of a threat than a wildfire, well, you're gonna be feeling kind of ridiculous in that moment in time. And the other thing you have to keep in mind is that even though an EMP could happen, it's still not super likely because there are means to destroy our ability to have electricity without something as complicated or obvious as an EMP. We all know that with foreign entities that are here domestically right now, we all know that with domestic entities, especially with all these eco fighters and everything else that are out there, there's a good chance they'll just attack the power grid, which is already extremely fragile. And guess what happens when the power grid goes down? Pretty much all the same things as an EMP, except for people might still be able to run their cars and stuff, but that won't last super long with all the grid going down. But you and your house with your generator and everything ready to go without having to worry about the grid will be fine, whereas everybody else will be panicking and in chaos. So yeah, if an EMP happens, are we gonna lose a lot of the stuff that we've invested in? Quite possibly. But you know what? Part of preparedness is also being able to adapt to those situations. So you know what? If an EMP goes off and I lose my red dot sights, I guess I will just switch to a scope, or I guess I will use a prism optic, or I guess I will switch to iron sights. I have those options as well. Having redundancies is part of the name of the game. So use what makes the most sense now, use what makes your life more efficient and more advantageous, and then if you have to get rid of those things because they suddenly don't work anymore, adapt to your new environment and you'll be fine. So I just wanted to mention that because I hear it all the time and I think it needed to be said. And let me know your thoughts down in the comments below, because you might be one of the people who say those types of things all the time, and that's fine, but understand that there's other things that we should be worried about too, right? And if EMP is the only thing you're considering, then you might be surprised when something completely different happens instead, right? And then, of course, you guys know what to do if you need to get a hold of me or anything, magicprepper.com. There's a lot of good stuff over there as well. And there's a subscribe star if you want to support the channel directly so I can go shoot more 22 long rifle out of a space gun, because let's be honest, it used to be a lot more affordable and now it still costs a little more than I would like to pay for it, but whatever, it's fine. Either way, subscribe star is great, exclusive content there. I also do a preparedness incentive every month that I give to somebody in the community. Whatever it is, listen, EMP goes down, oh well. You'll figure it out. But don't stop yourself from having things that make your life more efficient and easier in the meantime. And that's just what I wanted to say. Hope that makes sense, and that's gonna be it for Magic Prepper.